You were told a simple story. Work hard, make good choices, and you'll get ahead. And there's just enough truth in it to keep you believing it. But step back and look at the shape of history, and something doesn't fit. The same families stay on top for generations. The same fortunes survive wars, revolutions, crashes, and entire centuries. The people at the top tend to stay at the top. Not because every new heir is a genius, but as if something is holding them there automatically. It is. There is a machine underneath all of this. It is about 5,000 years old, and it was built so that the people who already have will keep having, quietly, mathematically, whether they are clever or lazy, whether they lift a finger or not. Once you see how it works, you can't unsee it, and you'll finally understand why working harder was never going to be enough. We love to explain wealth with stories about effort, the self-made man, the hustle, the smart bet, and effort is real. Nobody is saying it isn't. But here's the problem with that story. If hard work were the thing that made people rich, then the hardest working humans who ever lived, the field laborers bent over crops from dawn to dark, the miners, the builders who moved stone by hand, would have been the richest people in history. They were the poorest. They worked the hardest and owned the least, and they died with nothing to pass on. So hard work is not the thing. The rich have never stayed rich by working harder than everyone else. They stayed rich by owning, and ownership, it turns out, does the working for you. To see how old this is, go back to the very first divide in human society. Not rich versus poor exactly. Something more specific, the people who owned the land and the people who merely worked it. In ancient Rome, farmland steadily collected into the hands of a small elite, worked by slaves and landless tenants. These giant estates had a name, latifundia. The small farmer, the man who actually pushed the plow, was slowly squeezed off his own soil and turned into a worker on someone else's. By the year 133 BCE, the problem was so severe that a politician named Tiberius Gracchus tried to break up the great estates and hand land back to ordinary Romans. For that, he was beaten to death in the street by members of the Senate. The people who owned the land had no intention of sharing it. They understood something the workers didn't. If you own the land, you eat from other people's labor even while you sleep. That is the first version of the machine. Own the thing, and the thing feeds you. And it gets more powerful, because the ancients found a second engine, one that didn't even need land. Money that breeds. We call it interest, and it is astonishingly old. In ancient Mesopotamia, 4,000 years ago, lenders already charged it, often 20 or 30% a year. And listen to what they called it. The Sumerian word for interest, mash, was the very same word they used for a calf, a baby animal. To them, interest was money giving birth, money that came back with offspring attached, while the lender did nothing but wait. The philosopher Aristotle was so disturbed by this that he condemned it outright. Money, he said, was supposed to be barren, a dead tool for trade. To make it breed, to make it multiply just by existing, struck him as unnatural, almost monstrous. But the wealthy of every age understood the opposite. They understood this was the most powerful force they had ever found. Because the poor borrow, and their debts breed and multiply until they're swallowed by them. The rich lend, and the exact same force multiplies in their favor. The same act, money at interest, shrinks one person and grows another. Which side you stand on is the entire game. And here is the engine underneath both, the thing that turns a small advantage into a gap nobody can cross. Compounding. Compounding is simple, and it is merciless. If your wealth grows by a little each year and you leave it alone, next year it grows on top of the growth. The year after, on top of that. Slowly at first, then not slowly at all. A modest edge, left to run long enough, doesn't add up. It explodes. The person who owns a little and lets it compound will, given enough time, leave the person who owns nothing impossibly far behind, even if they're no smarter, no harder working, no more deserving. The math does not care about any of that. And now, the part that locks the whole thing in place, it passes down. A single human lifetime isn't long enough for this to fully matter. But the machine doesn't reset when you die. The wealthy don't start over each generation. The heir begins exactly where the parent left off. Already ahead, already compounding, already owning the things that feed on other people's work. Meanwhile, the family with nothing starts every single generation back at zero. One line begins each race at the finish. The other begins it at the start. Do that for a few hundred years, and you get the world you actually see. The same names, the same fortunes, century after century. For most of history, people could feel this was true, but couldn't prove it. Then, in 2013, an economist named Thomas Piketty did something nobody had managed before. He and his team dug through centuries of tax and wealth records across many countries, and they measured it. What they found was a single, brutal pattern. The return on wealth, what money earns, just by being owned, has across almost all of recorded history grown faster than the economy as a whole, faster than wages, faster than what a worker can earn by working. Piketty wrote it as a short, cold formula, but the meaning is simple. If the money you own grows faster than the money you can earn, then over time the people who own will always inevitably pull away from the people who work. Not because of a conspiracy, not because of a villain, because of arithmetic. The gap between the owners and the workers does not close on its own. Left alone, it widens, automatically, generation after generation. It always has. So look again at the story you were told. Work hard, make good choices, get ahead. It isn't a lie exactly, but it describes running along a line, and the line itself was drawn long before you arrived, and it tilts. Because the rule underneath 5,000 years of human wealth has never once changed. It is this: own the thing that makes money, or be the thing that makes money. The rich own land, then lending, then shares of the very companies you spend your wages inside. Those things work day and night while their owners sleep, travel, or do nothing at all. Most people do the opposite. They rent their homes, they rent their time, they sell their hours by the day, and they own almost nothing that grows on its own. And the difference between those two lives is not effort. A landlord is not working harder than his tenant. He is simply standing on the side of the line where the ground rises by itself. So when someone tells you the answer is just to work harder, understand exactly what machine you're being told to work inside. Effort moves you along your line. It does not move you to the other one. The people at the top are not running faster than you. They are standing on ground that lifts them while they rest, on a structure the Romans would have recognized instantly, and the Babylonians before them. The question the ancient world faced is underneath everything, the same question facing you. Are you renting your life, your home, your hours, your future? Or do you own something that works while you sleep? Because in 5,000 years, the thing that has separated the rich from everyone else has never once been how hard they worked. It has always only been what they owned while they slept. That part hasn't changed. The only thing still undecided is which side of that line you spend your one life trying to reach.